Of all of the innovative desk setups out there, by far the floating desk is the most ambitious. Ed over at TechSource has done an exceptional job at making it to where there are no legs, at least according to the thumbnail. Let's see if it's actually the case. His cinematography is next level. Holy cow. I like the edit on that. Okay, Ed, you didn't have to hit us with the Hermione Granger lines here. Like, what? That's fantastic. Yeah, I need to get to the level he's on. Do we have the same microphone? Hold on, do we have the same mic? Or is his the nicer version? Hold on. I think we might have the same microphone. I don't know if it's going to show. I have the RE320 from Electro Voice. That's either the RE20, which is the nicer version, slightly more expensive. Also, brother, we could use a little dusting on this. This is the disadvantage of HD. I don't even know what that audio interface is. Okay. It's the Elgato. I think that's the 4K or the Pro one.
All your loved ones pay full price for a Windows.
Don't pay full price. Pay attention to the ads on your creators' videos. Don't be like me.
Well, here we are. The ultimate floating desk setup tour, like I promised you guys. Naturally, you will have some questions, maybe even some concerns, but I'm here to tell you that
some people just know they could save hundreds on car
Bro,
insurance
your
by checking
ad
all
placement is impeccable. You're here to tell us what, Ed? We're all waiting.
everything will make sense in due time. But until then, sit back and relax, and let's dive into my ultimate dream setup tour version 2.
Okay, version 2? There was a version 1? How did I miss the version 1? Also, that is maybe not the same microphone. It looks very similar, but the mesh up here is throwing me off. That, and I don't think they've ever made a white variant, but knowing Ed, he just customed it. I didn't get quite that gutsy. I customed the things that I was adding to it.
Ambitious project I have ever took in my life would simply be an understatement. I have
ever taken in my life. Ed, we got to work on your English, my guy.
poured my heart and soul into this project.
Okay, now I feel bad.
Every setup that I built for myself. My goal has always been to make the best setup for me and only me.
This was the era that I found Ed in, by the way. Like, this was the area I found him in. I loved the clean, minimal look. The red and black, as I'm sure you probably figured out, is still my aesthetic. I've never quite grown out of it. I truly loved this setup that he made. I don't know if I ever got to see any of the other ones.
While achieving this undeniable trademark that's embedded deep in the DNA, that when you see this setup, you know it belongs to me. Something that's not so easy to replicate. Something that no sane person out there would attempt because practicality is not a part of the equation. So to kick off the tour, the entire...
Holy cow! Oh, he's got a little footrest down there. I need to work on that. That's something I've heard is a really helpful thing, but like, his cable management is so clean. I'm sure he's gonna go into this, but how in the world? I think this is a tray underneath here, so this is probably where all the cables ended up. But just one cable going literally into... It's not even plugged into the wall, it's in the wall.
Setup is being held up by a custom built frame that I designed with the help of my buddy Danny from the Discord server. The original...
I'm sorry, you machined it? You had... Whoa. What?
Frame that I designed with the help of my buddy Danny from the Discord server. The original idea came from Eric, who was a contestant from a previous Setup Wars episode, and immediately...
Setup Wars is goated. I have to make that statement because I got so much inspiration. Even looking at this one. We want to build my wife a mini PC setup that's like white with like a light colored wood. So like if we just inverted all the black into a white setup, this is great.
I fell in love with the idea. You see, my previous setup already was floating.
Yeah, this looks really good. But although the camera angle or maybe the lens makes it looks like it's like dipping. If your desk is this way, it almost looks like it's like this. That can't be good.
In the loose sense of the word, because I was using stand.
Oh, that's okay. So from certain angles, it looked floating. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Same microphone.
Triangle brackets to provide support to the table. But I hated how obvious that looked. You can easily tell what was supporting the desk breaking the illusion of the floating look I was trying so hard to achieve. In Eric's case, it was an all-in-one frame that attaches to the wall that not only supports the headboard, but also the tabletop, eliminating the need for additional support underneath the desk.
This is 14 months to complete. What? Was it this one or yours, Ed? I think it's this one because the color of the button there, I don't know.
There was one big problem. I knew for a fact that his frame is not going to be strong enough to support my gear and both my tabletops. So I decided to design my very own custom frame.
Bro is in Blender right now designing one.
Pulled Danny from our server, who was the mastermind behind the 3D renders, and I basically told him what I want to build. So using my setup knowledge and his 3D modeling skills, we both cooked up a beautiful, one-of-a-kind custom frame, which I then took to my local welding shop.
What? Holy crap. Dude, what kind of money would you have to have, bro? That's all I gotta know. Like, you definitely paid the guy for the model, and then you paid this person to weld it. I mean, TechSource's got millions of subs. I'm sure he's doing fine, but like, holy crap, this is so unique. He definitely checked that box. Now my cool setup feels less cool. Do you hate that? Like, it's a constant comparison. My setup's still fine. I'm coping.
And had it fabricated in about 2 weeks. Then I brought it back home and I mounted it against the wall and attached both the tabletop and the headboard to it. There's obviously a lot more that went into the entire process, which I can't fit in this video. So if you guys are intrigued and or are bored and you want something to watch, feel free to check out the 4 videos I made on the entire setup.
He made 4 videos just doing it. Dude, literally, this is a genius. Like, if you're gonna do a setup tour video that is super unique like this, having 4 additional videos that were just you building that, mind blown. And also, I will say, since the last time I was actively watching TechSource, his editing is like top notch. It's got enough pacing to it that it's not overwhelming, but it's also like not just him talking to the camera the whole time, which I don't think he ever was doing that from what I remember. But this is really exceptionally good.
Where I go over everything from start to finish. And well, let's just say the frame is strong enough to support the entire setup and also myself. At the heart of the...
That is a lot of trust. Oh, my shoulders got so tense watching that. He stood on that and I thought, oh, not everything you just worked for, it's gonna fall apart. It didn't. Kind of impressed.
Setup are my quad monitors. We have a 4K 240 Hz.
Okay, we got to talk about monitors. I guess technically I have 4 monitors at my setup. I have my main monitor, my peripheral monitor for my PC setup, and then I've got a laptop screen and a third monitor, like a second monitor for that for editing. So technically I have 4, but I don't use 4 all the time. I have 2 at any setup, and I don't understand how people actually get practical use out of more than like 3. Like 3 is an extreme. 4? What are we doing with 4 of them?
32-inch display as my primary,
It's a
with a
pretty nice display.
39-inch ultra-wide as an overhead, and then 2 27-inch 1440p 240 Hz monitors for my verticals. All displays are OLED for consistency in color,
Sure.
and they are all plugged into my custom water-cooled PC that's mounted.
Oh, this is my next dream right here. To build a water-cooled PC, not even an open air one like this, because I don't have the time to maintenance that. But like when I build my next PC, which will probably be another year before my current one is actually having problems, I absolutely want to water cool it inside a case though, not like this. This is too ambitious for my first one.
On the wall above it all. It's got a bit of outdated specs, featuring a 14900KS processor with 96 gigs of RAM and the RT.
He's calling this outdated. Mine, the one I was just talking about is a Ryzen 7 5700X and the RTX 3080 Ti. You think yours is outdated? I mean, I guess for a tech tuber with like millions of subs it is, but like that's still really healthy. Man, tech tubers really are we get to this point where you think you need to have the newest, nicest stuff when the old stuff's still working. Is that just tech tubers or is that America? We aren't going to get there.
RTX 4090. However, all of this will be replaced in the next few months with an entirely new system.
Listen, brother, I know a guy who could use one of those. I know a guy. And it's not even me. It'd be my wife. It's not a guy, it's a gal.
The biggest concern and hate that I've received for my setup has to do with the spacing of my monitors. Too much spacing between the monitors seems to be what's driving the people insane.
That's a really weird spot to pause. Oops.
I get it, okay?
just happened? The spacing between your monitors is essential. You've got to have spacing. He's probably going to go into why, and you can see a lot of why when you look at his setup. The lights in between the monitors right here and here, and of course the big monitors, studio like audio monitors right here and here. You can see all of that. I got to be honest with you, these don't seem that egregious to me. I don't know what people are tweaking about. I mean, the internet just does that, but that's so weird.
People see something online or in a video that they're not used to or didn't experience in person, they tend to have an allergic reaction to it. Would I prefer the monitors seamlessly connected? Yes, of course. That's how my last setup was. But I sacrificed audio in exchange. This time, I'm not doing it. I use my speakers quite a bit. In fact, I'm blasting music 100% of the time while working. It's what gets me through the day. And I can
wait. We were just talking about what does he use his 4 monitors for. We could actually talk about it right now. I love that. By the way, this is something I have, like some cheap Logitech speakers, but I use them literally as much as I possibly can because I don't mind wearing headphones. As much content as I produce, both for this channel and my gaming channel, I literally cannot wear headphones all day. It will begin to hurt, and and I know that's like a first world problem, and it really is, but like having your speakers, it's just so freeing, and I get, for me, the creativity goes to another level. Okay, but bro has, looks like Discord over here on this monitor. Quite frankly, I have no idea what I'm looking at up here. I think that says property experiment. I don't actually, you can't zoom in, I don't think. And then over here, bro has some emails. That is some serious emails. I wonder how many unread emails. Oh, look, it says inbox. There's no number next to it. So maybe they aren't unread emails. That's still a lot of emails keeping your inbox, Ed. Come on, man.
Music 100% of the time while working. It's what gets me through the day. And I can confidently say having them in the center and tilted up towards me is night and day compared to the previous location. The spacing between the monitors does not bother me. I mean, it did for the first few hours because I simply was not used to them, but the more I used the setup, the more natural it felt. I'm able to see all the content on all the monitors by simply rotating my head. No tilting, no leaning forward is necessary. Everything has been planned and executed so that my head follows the curved path of the monitors from one side to the other.
Oh, okay, that's kind of cool.
The distance of the monitors remains constant. Now, if I want to bring a window from one side of the monitor to the other, I simply drag it through the ultralight using it as a bridge. The primary monitor is about 32 inches away from me, which is about the depth of the desk, which might seem far, but the screen size compensates the distance.
It's a 32-inch screen.
It feels more like a 27-inch monitor from a closer distance instead of a 32-inch.
That makes sense.
With
I
that said, however,
I will say I was wondering about why he had such a large monitor, but that does make sense. I use 24-inch displays, but they're probably only, well, and actually this curved one is probably, it might be 24 inches. I don't know. It was given to me. But if I go from where I am right now to where the base of the monitor is, whatever the distance of my 2 hands, maybe 3 of my hands. So I would say I probably am within 27 inches or less of that monitor. It's probably even less than that. My hands are not 9 inches long, I don't think. Are they?
From a closer distance instead of a 32-inch. With that said, however, reaching the gear towards the back is far, and I do have to lean in to do that, which is far from ideal. However, once again, I do have a solution.
Oh, I was going to say, okay, so before he gets to a solution, I am really big about not having a cluttered desk. I have very similar gear to what he has in front of him, different actual individual options, but I have a very similar setup in front of me. And I would say that if I could have one thing change, I would create, I have an Elgato, this thing here, except I don't have the Stream Deck Plus, I think is what that one's called. I have the regular Stream Deck, one of the OG ones. I would love to be able to mount it on the bottom of my desk and have the buttons right next to me, because I think that would just take a level up from where it is right now. Because right now I do, every time I want to reach, I have to reach with full extension out. I can't even imagine what it's like for him. But this is not a big deal, first world problems, but for convenience, it would be so much easier if my hands are on the keyboard, or my one hand is on the keyboard while I'm gaming and I want to switch stream settings or whatever. I can just take my hand off the keyboard and move it back slightly, push the button to go right back to what I was doing. I'll be curious to hear his solution though.
I purposely left enough cable slack behind the headboard so that I can bring over any of the devices so it's easier to reach.
Okay.
This way I get the best of both worlds. The convenience of reaching the buttons while maintaining the clean aesthetic when it's not in use.
Coffee Mate is the world's biggest coffee lover.
Just proof that I don't use ad blockers.
aside from the Stream Deck Plus, I've also added the new Logitech.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Wait, what is this? Okay, we're gonna have to talk about that in a second. I was kind of bopping to that music, but what is this Elgato Keylight-esque thing? Or Keylight. Oh, I'm gonna get canceled. The Elgato Stream Deck like thing. What is this?
Creative Console to my arsenal, which helped improve my overall workflow. The Creative Console comes in two pieces. The first one is a tiny little pad that features 9 customizable LCD keys and 2-page navigation buttons, while the second one is a dial pad that's connected via Bluetooth. Both of them join forces to amplify my productivity. With the button pad, I can customize macros, shortcuts, and even display hardware information. They have an entire marketplace filled with tons of useful plugins that you can download. The Libre hardware monitor is actually one of my favorites because I can display certain sensors right on the LCD screen for convenience. I like using the Creative Console the most.
I'm going to be honest with you, that's just Logitech's attempt at trying to come up with a Stream Deck equivalent, and the fact that it took them this long is kind of sad, because that's not a complicated product. I'm surprised that they did that, though. I will say that over the Stream Deck, just right off the rip without doing a full review, I find it interesting that they realized that most people don't use even the 15 keys of the Elgato Stream Deck, and they gave you 2-page physical buttons on there that are separate from the programmable ones. I will say, as much as it took them a while, at least what they came up with has some like objective improvement. That's kind of cool.
Because of its smaller compact size, especially the dial pad being wireless comes in clutch. I currently have the dial pad programmed specifically for my Discord. I can toggle mute, set my audio devices depending on if I'm in a game or in a meeting, and if I hold down the action ring, that will open up a new set of shortcuts that I can customize. I'm not gonna lie, if you're a content creator who uses mostly Adobe software, then you can benefit from this a lot more because the console seamlessly integrates with Adobe Suite and other creative tools. So next to the Creative Console, I have my remote power switch that powers on my PC.
Hey, hold on. Sorry, there's a lot there. I wanted to you just say power button. That's oh my. But I am absolutely baffled by that Logitech thing. That's something that I got to get for the channel and review because I think that would be an interesting like adjustment. But I do think that the biggest struggle that I have is that I use DaVinci Resolve for editing. I don't know why anybody still uses Premiere Pro in 2025, but I really do think that the Stream Deck has always had a good integration with that kind of stuff. So I don't know that Logitech's going to come out with something crazier. What's interesting further to me though is I don't believe he said at any point, unless I was just blind, because that's always possible, that Logitech sponsored this video, but that sure seemed like a sponsored segment.
And on the other side is my audio interface that's currently powering all of my audio devices. We got the Audio-Technica M50Xs in white, the RE20 Electro.
It is the RE20, but he's custom painted this. He had to have custom painted this. I don't know how you would have safely because the mesh here, as far as I'm aware, the RE20 does not come in any available colors except for tan. That was when I went to go buy this microphone though, which was in 2020. So for all I know, they've released new ones. You can kind of tell if you look closely, it looks like he has custom painted it. I don't know how he would have though without wrecking the microphone unless you just take the cage apart. Either way, I'm very impressed, I have to say.
Voice microphone and my Kanto Tuck speakers. On my previous setup, I used the SteelSeries Arctis 7s because...
See, I've got the Arctis Pro wireless. They look very similar to that. It's got the same dock, and I loved them. I still love them. If there was a better wireless option, I would go for them, but that interfaces with audio interfaces directly. But I don't think there is one.
Because they were wireless. It's as simple as that. But I just couldn't do that anymore because my ears deserve better, okay? And there's no better sound than wired headphones. And this is coming from someone who prefers wireless everything, okay? There are
I gotta say, I'm a wireless guy too. I have the Corsair Qatar mouse and I have the K70 Mini from Corsair as well for my peripherals. I'm still not sure if I'm gonna endorse those yet, so keep that in mind. If you're starting to look, don't necessarily take that as an endorsement yet. I don't know, man. Audio is something that I like. I'm really big about the cable. Like if I get up and someone's talking, I can get up and walk away, and I constantly do that. So I'd have to find some kind of a solution, but I would be curious to maybe do an audio comparison between these. I think he said these are the M50Xs from Audio-Technica, which does make really good audio gear. I'd love to hear a comparison of those to, or even just a Corsair wired, anything wired versus wireless. I'd be curious to see if I can actually tell that big of a difference because I've had these for so long. I'm just used to it if there is a difference, so...
certain things where you just have to go wired if you don't want to sacrifice quality. And my pair of cans are one of them. The microphone is also the same one I've been using for the past few years, simply because it's one of the best mics in the market. And
okay, I'm gonna keep it a buck though. We got to talk about this posture. Not that my posture is probably great, but like, so I'm constantly leaning forward like this, which is probably not good for you. But I don't see a world where doing this is even supported, which I am not right now. I'm having to engage my core that I don't have. I don't understand how this works well for long periods of time. You'd have to explain that ergonomic to me, but
I am completely happy with the quality. So why change things that work? Except the color. Of course, I had to paint in white for obvious reasons. The mic is
I called it. Did he ever make a video on that? Because I would love to know how to custom paint this, because I would happily get the shock mount changed to the actual good one and get the foam windscreen off of here if I could just custom paint it.
being held up by a modded Thrawn Max boom arm, which has a low profile design and includes a nice little raceway to help me keep the XLR cable hidden. And
I've literally never heard of this brand. I actually want to go to the low profile from Elgato soon, but this looks really good.
finally, the speakers have also been the same for several years. Heavy on the bass, clear on the highs, absolutely love the sound quality these produce, and unless they break down, I am not changing them anytime soon. Moving on to peripherals. So my daily driver is the ROG Azoth Extreme keyboard that's been painted in white, and that is paired with a new Razer Viper signature.
I don't understand how people use these cutout mice. I don't get it. How do you do that? Maybe you adjust to it?
Which is the perfect addition to my setup. It comes in a super premium case with a satisfying metal latch, which is pretty cool in itself, but this mouse actually uses a special anti-yellowing coating, so it's going to maintain the clean white color throughout its lifespan. But apart from that, it's super sleek and lightweight thanks to its magnesium alloy exoskeleton. It's also incredibly fast, and you know, for someone who plays FPS games competitively, I don't settle for anything less than the...
What is he playing here? What is this? What game is this? I don't even know. I'm in the FPS scene. What is that?
With a 30K optical sensor paired with an 8,000 Hz polling rate, the Viper Mini makes the perfect sidekick to my Azoth Extreme board. I also love the fact that it comes with gripping tape and glass feet, which I ended up switching to. The glass feet makes a world of a difference, especially on our TechSource mousepad. It glides like butter, and I've
That was a really clean way to plug your merch. I'll give you that. Well done.
actually noticed a difference in my gameplay. I'm more quicker and my aim's better. Maybe it's a placebo from holding something small and light, but I've been getting more dubs on the finals for sure. The current mousepad of choice is our new proximity alert design, which comes in a bunch of different color schemes, but if I get bored of this and I want to switch over to something a bit darker, I bring out the koi design. But that's the beauty of our mousepads. We have a ton of really great designs to choose from, so I never get bored of the same designs.
You can do your own custom one on their website. I'll give him that. That's pretty cool.
Right now at AT&T, trade in your iPhone. Any year.
Okay, we're back to vibing.
So aside from the Azoth Extreme and the Viper Mini, which are used mainly for gaming, I also have another set of peripherals specifically for productivity, like the MX Master 3S and the MX Mechanical Mini.
I have the MX Master 2S. I have a MacBook. I use its keyboard, but like, what was the little wrist thing?
The MX Master 3S has been in my setup for many years now, and it's my absolute go-to for productivity simply because of the Hyper Scroll Wheel, which allows me to go through pages quickly. However, I don't like how tall the mouse is, and to me, it's a little uncomfortable. So to combat that, I pair it with the Delta Hub Carpio, which brings my wrist higher at a more comfortable angle with the mouse. The MX Mechanical Mini, on the other hand, is just a fun keyboard to type on because of its low-profile linear switches and how light and compact it is. Also, since I'm able to connect up to 3 devices via Bluetooth, I always move this between my office and studio. Between my outer monitors, I have my wireless mini Elgato key lights and the Elgato Facecam for meetings and streams. The Elgato key lights are attached via MagSafe, allowing me to detach them whenever I need to charge them, and the Elgato Facecam is hooked up against the headboard. I'm also able to control the brightness and the temperature of the lights using the Elgato Control Center. I do have a 7-port USB hub attached underneath the desk, and this acts as a highway directly to my PC for when I need to plug in USB drives, SD cards, or other devices without having to reach my PC. On the other side is a pencil drawer that stores all of my daily essentials. Like
Okay, bro. Why? Oh no, especially when he said daily essentials. Oh no.
computer glasses, and my power bank. This is used mainly to charge my wireless peripherals and my Elgato key lights when needed. The cable I use to connect the charger to my devices is neatly managed using a magnetic cable tie, which is reusable and comes in very handy for general cable management. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and talk about the cable management.
Yeah,
The
please.
custom frame has been designed with cable management in mind.
My
There are 1-inch
gosh.
cutouts on each side of the beams that allow me to pass through the cables comfortably, and using the cable ties, I'm able to keep the cables.
Whoa. We can't. Why is there? What's going on here? Do you want to talk about it, Ed? Nobody. I mean, we know we got to come off here eventually for the rounding effect it looks like we're going for here maybe in a second, but I don't know, man.
Flush
I don't know.
against the desk. Near the back of the frame, there are 1-inch slits on both horizontal beams that give me the option of tucking away loose and excess cables.
That
but
is so
also the
genius,
option
though.
to simply pull them out if I need to swap my gear in the future. And finally,
Yeah,
let's talk about the
future-proofing.
lighting,
Love to
which
see it.
is very important in every setup, because lighting
Oh, especially lighting in general is important, but like when you're going to make this floating aesthetic, you absolutely have to have killer lighting. That's so valid.
brings your setup to life. It adds character. It sets the mood. I have one Elgato strip underneath my desk and 2 more behind the headboard, which I'm able to control using the app on my phone.
There was when he was showing those, are there screws behind this? Or is there's got to be, okay, so this was not, he's so detail oriented. I was really surprised there was a bump. There's got to be something that maybe like a connector or something like this, maybe even not one fluid cable that goes around and there's several individual ones connected or something, because there's too many of these to not be the case.
And 2
Little
more
bumps.
behind the headboard, which I'm able to control using the app on my phone. But I also have 3 different sets of budget nanoleaf lines on the wall. Unfortunately, I found out the hard way that I can only connect 15 lines per controller, so I ended up adding 12 on each side and 3 in the middle, totaling 27 lines and 3 separate controllers. The app is super simple and allows for quite a bit of customization and voice commands via Google Voice or Alexa, but the only thing I don't like is that you can't sync all of your lights together. You have
Yeah,
to
I'm with
control
him on
each
that.
set of lights separately, but again, I'm not complaining because I'd much rather pay a fraction of the price for these instead of paying $200 for 9 lines. Nanoleaf is out of their mind. The last piece of lighting I recently
I'm with
added
him on
was
that.
behind my primary
I gotta say, like, there's several, that's what my channel focuses on is like finding the budget things that you get 90% of the value for like 70% of the price. That is the thing that I really like to focus on. And I'm telling you, he's absolutely right. Lighting, don't pay the name brand. Philips Hue, Nanoleaf, like these things are easy to integrate, but so is pretty much everything else at this point. There are very few selling points that I have found with these name brands that make sense to pay the difference.
display, and this basically synchronizes with whatever is on my screen in real time up to 20 frames per second. It adds a bit of immersion when I'm watching movies or playing games, but I can also set a specific color if I'm trying to go with a specific color scheme. And that's the beauty of building a white theme setup.
Yeah,
I can go with any
everything.
color scheme I want. The setup may not be perfect, and it's certainly not your cup of tea, but it's perfect for me, and it's perfect for what I use it for. You could use a splash of personality and maybe some cozy items like a rug, but all of that will be added over time. What you are seeing here is the foundation of the setup, and it can only improve moving forward. Thank you guys so much for your support over the past few years. Honestly, I wouldn't have been able to build something so crazy if it wasn't for you guys watching the video, so I do appreciate everything. I'll drop a link to everything I used in the setup and the order that they appeared in the video. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll see you guys very soon in the next one.
Honestly, this is my first attempt at anything like this where I react to another person's setup and give my thoughts and critiques. And honestly, it just reminded me how much I love this space, and I'm looking forward to getting this channel off the ground. TechSource is probably one of my very first tech tubers that I've ever seen, and I still enjoy watching him to this day. He's absolutely amazing. But the thing that separates me from a lot of the others, like I said a little bit ago, is that I am focused in this channel at showing you the things you get in 80 to 90% 50% of the value, paying 70% of the full price of a brand new name brand option. I cannot express to you with words enough how excited I am to go on this journey with you, because I'm going to be going and learning myself. I have spent thousands of dollars in gear as a content creator over the years, and I really want to try and save everyone else that I can some money and some headache later. So make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications if that's something you're into. And if you've made it to this point in the video, you probably like it. So hit the like button.